I'm a 27-year-old guy, just trying to live a simple, stress-free life. And then there's Jess. She's 25, beautiful, smart, and, at least, I thought, reasonable. We'd been dating for almost 2 years when it all started to go downhill. At first, everything was great. I mean, we had the usual ups and downs, but what relationship doesn't? We hang out, talk about our dreams, and plan little getaways. It felt normal, like any other relationship, or at least what I thought was normal. We lived in the same city, and though we didn't officially move in together, she'd spend the night at my place almost every weekend, and I'd crash at hers whenever I could. It was like we had this unspoken understanding, a rhythm. We weren't officially living together, but it felt like we were. And then, everything changed. One evening, Jess came over after a long day at work. She seemed off, like something was weighing on her, but she tried to mask it with a smile. I wasn't great at reading her moods back then, but I knew this wasn't just the usual stress from work. She sat down next to me on the couch, her posture tense, her hand gripping her phone a little too tightly. I felt a lump form in my throat as she looked me dead in the eyes. "We need to talk," she said. Now, any guy who's been in a relationship knows that phrase is never a good sign. Your mind starts running through 1,000 possibilities. Is she breaking up with me? Did I do something wrong? Is she going to tell me she's been feeling neglected? I braced myself, waiting for whatever was about to come. "Okay, what's up?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though my heart was racing. She didn't answer right away. She just stared at me for a moment, probably debating how to say what was coming next. Finally, she blurted it out, "I need you to pay off my credit card bills." I stared at her, probably looking like a deer caught in headlights. I must have blinked like 10 times, trying to process what she had just said. "Wait, what?" "Look, I know this is going to sound crazy," she continued, her voice getting quieter, but her words sharper. "But we're practically married, right? I mean, we've been living this way for a while now. You help me out, I help you out. That's what couples do, right?" There it was. The phrase I never saw coming. Practically married. I felt my stomach drop. We'd talked about the future before, sure. Marriage came up in conversations, but it was always more of a someday thing, not an immediate, "I expect you to financially support me right now" thing. "Jess, this isn't the way it works," I said, my voice shaky but trying to sound more confident than I felt. "You're asking me to pay off your credit card bills? I've never agreed to that." She sighed, clearly frustrated with my reaction. "I just don't get it, you know? I thought we were in this together. All this time we've spent, and now you're acting like I'm asking for the world. I've been helping you out with things, and I thought you'd have my back too." I was starting to feel like I was drowning in the tension. What she was saying sounded so reasonable on the surface. But there was a gut feeling, an instinct, telling me something was off. But then, my mind flashed to the months we'd been together. The dinners she'd forgotten to pay for, the little things she'd slipped past me, like asking for money for things she needed but I never questioned. It all started to add up. Was this just the final straw? Or had I been blind to something much bigger for months? "Jess," I started again, my voice softer, more hesitant this time, "we've been together, yeah. But that doesn't mean I should be responsible for your debts. You're a grown woman. You can handle this on your own." Her eyes narrowed, a flash of something dangerous flickering behind them. "You don't get it, do you? You say you're not responsible, but you're telling me we're practically married. And that means we share things. All things." I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something about her tone felt almost calculated. Like this had been building up for a while, and now she was finally dropping the bomb on me. Jess, this isn't about sharing things, I shot back. It's about boundaries. I don't have to pay your credit card bills just because we've been together for a couple of years. That's not how any of this works. You've got to figure this out yourself. I didn't even know where the words were coming from. But I stood my ground, even though my chest was tight, like I was about to snap. For a moment, she didn't say anything. Just sat there, staring at me like I'd just broken some unspoken rule. Then she slowly put her phone down, leaned back on the couch, and let out a long breath. Well, I guess I'll just have to figure something else out then, she muttered, but I could hear the venom in her voice. It was like a game was being played here, and I wasn't sure if I was winning or losing. But little did I know, this was only the beginning. The way things were unfolding was about to make everything we'd been through up until now seem like a warm-up. After that conversation, things between Jess and I started to feel off. You know when you can't quite put your finger on it, but the air is just heavy? Yeah, that's what it was like. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Every time we talked, it was like walking on eggshells. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe I was just overthinking things. I mean, it wasn't like she demanded I pay off her bills right away, right? She'd said she'd figure something else out, and I told myself it was just a bad moment. But then, the messages started. At first, it was just one text. Casual enough. Hey, I was thinking about what we talked about the other day. It's not like I expect you to pay everything, but could you help out with just a little bit? It'll really make a difference, I promise. I stared at that message, trying to figure out how to respond. On one hand, I understood that she was in a tough spot. She was working a stressful job, and her finances weren't exactly in order. But on the other hand, I'd never signed up to be her personal bank. I didn't answer right away. I just sat there, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, unsure of what the hell to say. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing by not helping, but something in my gut told me this was going too far. The next day, Jess called me while I was at work. I didn't pick up, but she left a voicemail. Babe, please. This is really hard for me to ask, but I feel like we're in this together, and I really need you right now. I'm drowning here. If you just helped me with a little bit, it would make everything so much easier. It's not like I'm asking for you to pay everything off. Just help me, okay? You're the only one who can. I could hear the desperation in her voice. It was real. I felt bad for her. But at the same time, I felt like I was being manipulated, like she was playing on my guilt to get me to cave. I kept my distance for the next few days, but then, one night, Jess showed up at my apartment unannounced. She looked different. There was a certain intensity in her eyes that I hadn't seen before. She wasn't the same carefree girl I'd been dating for the past 2 years. This woman standing in front of me felt like a stranger. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. What's up? She didn't even say hi. She walked straight into the living room and sat down, folding her arms like she was preparing for a fight. I've been thinking, she started, her tone sharp. You've been avoiding me for days, and it's making me feel like you don't care. I don't understand why you're acting like this. We've been together for so long, and you're telling me you won't help me out? You've been so distant, and I don't know what's going on. I could feel my frustration building. Jess, it's not about not caring. It's about boundaries. I can't just hand over my money every time you have a problem with your finances. That's not how relationships work. She flinched at my words. It stung, I could tell. But instead of backing off, she doubled down. I told you we're practically married, didn't I? You keep saying we're a team, so why is it that when I need help, you act like I'm asking for a favor? Her voice had this edge to it now, like I was the one in the wrong. It felt like she was twisting my words, manipulating the situation to make me the bad guy. And I hated that feeling. But I wasn't backing down. "No, Jess," I said, trying to keep calm, though I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. "This isn't about being a team. It's about personal responsibility. You need to deal with your credit card bills on your own. I'm not your safety net." There was a moment of silence. Her face changed, her jaw tightened, her lips pressed into a thin line. And then, she said something that made my blood run cold. "You don't get it, do you?" she asked, her voice low, almost dangerous. "If you don't help me now, I'll walk. I'll leave. I'm not going to stick around if you can't support me. I can't be with someone who won't have my back when it really counts." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had no idea how to respond to that. It felt like she was threatening me. Like she was telling me that if I didn't cave to her demands, she'd leave me, like I was somehow obligated to take on her financial burden just to keep her around. I stood there, frozen. I didn't know if I should call her bluff or give in. I felt this knot in my stomach, this sick feeling that something wasn't right. I was starting to wonder if I was dealing with someone who wasn't just going through a rough patch, but someone who was manipulating me, trying to make me feel guilty enough to pay her way. I didn't want to lose her, but I also didn't want to lose myself in the process. So I did the only thing I could think of. I walked out of the room. I couldn't keep talking to her like this. Not when everything felt so wrong. As I grabbed my jacket, I could hear her calling after me, but I didn't look back. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed space. I needed to think. What I didn't know was that this decision, this moment, would set off a chain of events that would completely change everything. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything in my head, her words, her tone, the way she'd looked at me like I was a stranger. It was all so overwhelming. I had no idea how things had gotten so twisted so quickly. Jess and I had been good together. Or at least, I thought we were. But now, everything fell off. I tried to reach out to a couple of my friends for advice. One of them, Ben, was the guy I could always count on for a no BS opinion. He's the type who'd tell me straight up if I was being an idiot or if I was right to feel the way I did. I called him first thing in the morning. He answered after the second ring, his voice groggy. "What's up, man?" "Dude, I'm in deep," I said, pacing around my apartment, trying to get the words out. "Jess is asking me to pay off her credit card bills. She says we're practically married, and that means I'm responsible for her finances. I don't even know how to process this." Ben was quiet for a second. Then he let out a long sigh. "Jesus, man. That's crazy. You can't let her pull that crap on you. I don't know what to do. She's been really insistent. And it feels like if I don't help, I'll lose her." There was a beat of silence. "Okay, listen," Ben said finally, sounding serious. "She's playing you. You're not some sugar daddy, dude. Just because you've been together for a while doesn't mean you owe her your paycheck. If she can't handle her own finances, that's on her, not you." I ran my hand through my hair, still not sure what to think. But she's really been pressuring me. And I get it. I get that she's in a tough spot. But this just doesn't sit right with me, man. I don't know if I'm being selfish or what. "You're not being selfish," Ben shot back. "She's the one being selfish. You need to set boundaries, or she's gonna walk all over you. Trust me on this." I thought about it. Maybe Ben was right. Maybe I was letting things get out of hand. But I didn't want to let go of Jess either. She meant a lot to me. I wanted to believe she wasn't trying to take advantage of me, but every time I thought about her request, that nagging feeling in my gut came back. The next couple of days were a blur. Jess didn't reach out at all, and I didn't make the first move either. I needed space. I needed to think. But as much as I tried to block her out of my mind, I couldn't. She was everywhere, her voice, her touch, her smile. It was like she was haunting me. Finally, 3 days later, I got a text from her. I almost didn't want to open it, but I had to know what she was thinking. I read it. I miss you. Can we talk? I feel like you're pulling away from me. I really need you right now. I don't know how to handle this without you. It was like a gut punch. I was torn. Part of me wanted to reach out, to fix things, to just move past this. But another part of me knew that if I didn't stand firm on this, it would just keep getting worse. I took a deep breath and called her. It rang twice before she picked up. Hey, she said, her voice a little shaky, like she'd been crying. I've been thinking about everything we talked about, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel like you have to fix everything. I don't know. I felt like I was drowning, and I thought you'd be there for me. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to believe her, to think that maybe I had misunderstood. But I had to remind myself of what I had to protect, myself. My sanity. My boundaries. I couldn't let her manipulate me with guilt anymore. I get it, Jess. I really do, I said, my voice steady but firm. But I can't be the one to bail you out of this. You need to handle your finances. This isn't something I should be responsible for, and you can't keep asking me for money every time things get hard. It's not fair to either of us. She was quiet for a long time, and for a second, I thought she was going to hang up on me. But then she spoke, her voice softer now. Okay. I understand. I just don't know how I'm supposed to fix this on my own. I thought you were my partner, you know? I thought that meant we helped each other through everything. I felt my chest tighten. She was twisting my words again, trying to make me feel like the bad guy. But I couldn't let her. I had to stay strong. I am your partner, Jess, I said, my voice calm but firm. But being in a relationship doesn't mean I'm your financial savior. You've got to figure this out on your own, or it'll just keep coming back to bite us. I didn't want to sound harsh, but it was the truth. If I didn't stop this now, it would keep happening. And deep down, I knew I wasn't the only one who would suffer. I think we need some time apart, I said, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. I can't keep doing this. It's not healthy for either of us. There was a long pause. Her breath hitched, and I could hear her trying to hold back tears. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, watching her fall apart, knowing that I was the one causing it. But I had to do what was right. I'll talk to you later, I added, my voice breaking slightly. I just need space right now. And then I hung up. I hadn't heard from Jess for a few days after that call. Honestly, I wasn't sure what I expected. I told myself I was fine, that I was doing the right thing. But every time I tried to focus on something else, my mind kept drifting back to her. I missed her, but I knew I had to stick to my guns. Then, one afternoon, as I was sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, my phone buzzed. It was Jess. I stared at the screen for a second, unsure if I should even pick up. The last time we talked, things had gotten heavy. But deep down, I knew this moment was coming. I took a breath and answered. Hey, I said, keeping my voice calm, though inside I was tense as hell. Hey, she replied, her voice flat. No tears this time, no desperation. It was colder. I think we need to talk. About everything. I could feel my heart rate spike. This was it, the moment everything would come to a head. I wasn't sure if I was ready for it, but I had to be. Yeah, we do, I said, my voice firm but low. I don't know how much more we can say, Jess. I told you my stance. I'm not paying your bills. I can't do that. And I need you to understand that. There was a pause on the other end. I could hear her breathing, but nothing else. Then she spoke, and her voice was suddenly sharper, colder, almost like a knife. You know, you keep saying that, but you're not listening to me, she said, each word punctuated with that familiar sharpness I hadn't heard in a while. You're acting like I'm some kind of burden, and I'm not. I've been supporting you in other ways. This is just me asking for help, and you're refusing to be there for me. I clenched my fist around my coffee cup, the heat of the ceramic almost burning my skin. She was doing it again, twisting my words. The guilt-tripping was getting unbearable. It was like she was trying to make me feel small, to manipulate me into giving her what she wanted. Jess, this isn't about you being a burden. It's about responsibility. You have to take care of your own problems. I'm not your ATM. I can't keep bailing you out. If you really want to work through this, we need to be on the same page. You have to own your mistakes. Her voice wavered, and I thought for a second that maybe I'd hit a nerve. Maybe she was finally understanding. But then, she dropped the bomb. You really want me to own my mistakes? She asked, her voice suddenly calm, too calm. All right. Let me tell you this, then. I've been thinking about everything, and I've realized something. I didn't say anything. I wasn't sure where she was going with this, but I could feel the storm building. I've been putting up with a lot of your crap too, you know? I've been the one always trying to make this work, trying to make you happy, she continued, her words sharp now, like daggers. You think I don't see it? You think I don't know you're not really in this? You say you care, but you won't even back me up when it counts. I've been carrying this relationship for months, and now I see it for what it really is. You don't love me, you're just comfortable with me. And I'm tired of being comfortable. I'm done. My stomach dropped. This wasn't the conversation I thought we were having. I hadn't expected this level of hostility. She was angry, but there was something else in her voice, something that made me feel like I was talking to a completely different person. You're done? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Yeah. I'm done. And just like that, the weight of the words hit me. I didn't know what to say. I was staring at my phone like an idiot, trying to make sense of what was happening. I'm sorry, but this isn't working. I can't keep asking myself why I'm fighting for someone who can't even fight for me, she continued, her voice thick with finality. I'm leaving. I felt the blood drain from my face. I hadn't thought she would actually say it. I thought this was just another one of her emotional outbursts, something to make me cave. But this felt real. It hit me like a slap across the face. I can't just keep doing this, she said, her words trembling now. You don't get it. You can't just pick and choose when you want to be in this relationship. You don't get to decide when it's too much for you and bail when things get tough. I can't live like this. I was speechless. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to apologize, to fix things. But another part of me knew that I wasn't the one in the wrong here. This wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about control. It was about boundaries. And I wasn't going to let her trample all over mine. So that's it? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. That's it, she replied. The line went quiet after that. I didn't say goodbye. I just let the silence stretch on until I finally heard the click of the phone hanging up. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to feel. Relief? Anger? Sadness? It was all a mess of emotions, tangled together, and none of them felt like they made sense. But one thing was clear, I had just lost her. And I wasn't sure if that was a loss I could recover from. It's been a couple of weeks since Jess and I broke up. I won't lie, it's been hard. There's a part of me that still wants to reach out, to text her, to maybe fix things. But then I think about that conversation, about her demands, and the guilt she tried to pile on me. I start to feel angry, and then I realize, no. I did the right thing. At first, I wasn't sure. I kept replaying the last words she said to me, over and over in my head. I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I was being too harsh, too cold. Maybe if I'd just agreed to help, things wouldn't have spiraled out of control. But then I remember how it felt when she told me we were practically married, how she tried to make me responsible for something I wasn't prepared for. That's not love. That's control. After the breakup, I spent a lot of time reflecting. I took a week off work, just to be by myself and process everything. I didn't want to go out, didn't want to talk to anyone. I wanted to understand why I'd let things go so far. Why I'd let someone guilt trip me into feeling like I wasn't doing enough, like I wasn't enough. That's when it hit me. I'd been living in this strange bubble where I thought I needed to do whatever it took to keep her happy, to keep the relationship intact. But in the end, I was neglecting my own happiness, my own boundaries. I had to get clear about what I wanted and what I wasn't willing to compromise on. There's a strange feeling that comes with realizing you've been manipulated. At first, it's anger, pure and raw. You're furious with the person who tried to control you, to make you feel small. But then, as time goes on, it shifts. You feel this strange sense of relief. Like a weight's been lifted off your chest. I started to see things more clearly. Jess and I weren't a team the way she made it sound. A team doesn't drag one person down while expecting the other to carry all the weight. She wasn't treating me as an equal, she was treating me like her safety net, like someone to fall back on whenever things got tough for her. But life doesn't work like that. I started reaching out to my friends more, getting back to doing things I loved. Ben, of course, was there for me through all of this. We hung out more than we had in a long time, grabbing drinks, talking about life, laughing about stupid stuff. It felt good to remember who I was before Jess. I felt like I was finding myself again, piece by piece. Eventually, I sat down with my journal, writing about everything that had happened. I vented, I cried, I got angry all over again. But somewhere in the process, I found clarity. I realized that the relationship wasn't just about the money or the bills. It was about the control. And I had to break free from that. What Jess asked of me wasn't a sign of love, it was a red flag. She was trying to force me into a position where I felt obligated to her, to sacrifice my own goals, my own values, just to please her. And it wasn't fair. The hardest part wasn't losing her, it was admitting to myself that I'd let things get so far. But once I did, it was like a door opened. I didn't need her to validate me, to make me feel like I was doing the right thing. I had to validate myself. And that's the thing I hadn't realized while I was with her. I had to trust myself enough to set boundaries, to know when to say no. Sure, it's been lonely at times. I miss the good parts of our relationship, the ones where everything felt easy and natural. But I'm starting to understand that relationships can't just be about comfort. They need respect, trust, and, most of all, equality. And Jess wasn't giving me that. I was giving it to her, but I wasn't getting it in return. Over the last few weeks, I've been more focused on my goals than ever before. I've been pouring my energy into my YouTube channels, diving deeper into my business plans, and getting back into my physical fitness routine. I'm more driven now than I've been in a long time. The space I've had without Jess has been eye-opening. And it's not just about the business or the career stuff. It's about me. I'm doing this for myself, to become the best version of me. No one else can do that for me. I have to take ownership of my own life, my own decisions, and my own boundaries. As for Jess, well, I haven't heard from her since the breakup. I'm not waiting around for her to reach out, not anymore. If she ever decides to contact me again, I'll be civil, but I won't fall for the same trap. I can't. I've learned my lesson. In the end, I know this was the right choice. Maybe it took a while for me to get there, but I've realized that no relationship, no matter how much you care about someone, is worth losing yourself over. And I'm done losing myself.